This true-life story will go down in Dallas, Texas as one of the most unnecessary loss of a life on an Easter Sunday morning. Everyone acted foolishly in this story: the senior pastor, the people involved in the entanglement, and the leadership of the church, including the church members who didn't protest against the continued stay of the church organist, the man at the center of it all. Welcome back to Crime and Prison. Let's take a deep dive into this chilling true crime story of love triangle turned deadly in the church in this pathetic episode. Explore the audacity of the church organist Joshua Andrews, the alleged adopted son of senior pastor Eric Andrews of the New Generation Church in Oak Cliff, Texas, a Dallas suburb whose brazen display of his illicit affair with the pastor's wife ended in tragedy. He was raised in this church by his parents Sheila and James Branch. He was a dutiful husband and father and above all a God-fearing man. However, Brianna, his wife, was not as committed to their marriage as he thought. The youth pastor's wife was involved in extramarital affairs with another member of the church. What made it worse was that on the day he was officially ordained as the youth pastor, Brianna stood solidly behind him as the Rock of Gibraltar and a pillar of hope while Joshua Andrews played the piano for his handsome friend. Little did Denzel know that Joshua, his childhood friend, was already reaping where he didn't sow. He didn't know he had fire in his roof while he slept. He didn't know that the death that would take a man's life would not save him. He continued his duty in the church, while his wife also continued to shuttle between two houses, two men and two beds. Both Brianna and Joshua took their eyes off Jesus and the cross and began to look at themselves in an unholy way. Brianna either didn't take her wedding vows serious or didn't know the enormity of violating an oath she made before the Almighty God to love and to hold her husband until death do them part. Actually, I don't think many people take the vows seriously at all. I digress. People began to talk about the really disgraceful relationship between the youth pastor's wife and the organist. Denzel was shocked when he found out his wife was entangled in webs of lies and romantic relationship with Joshua. What made it even more unbelievable was the fact that Joshua was his friend. Betrayal, they say, is never by a stranger. It is always someone very close. People were deeply concerned, more concerned about Denzel because he was a good man. Denzel began to experience a complex mix of emotions all at once. He was deeply hurt and betrayed, not just by his wife but also by his best friend. The two people he trusts most have crossed a line that feels unforgivable. He was confused and struggled to make sense of the situation, questioning what led to this and how long it had been happening. He replayed past events and looked for signs he missed. He was sad, very sad. He began to grieve and mourn over the loss of the relationship he thought he had with his wife and the friendship he valued with Joshua. It felt like a double loss, amplifying the pain and sadness. He even at one point pleaded with his wife and wanted to make their marriage work, but she was far gone. She didn't want him anymore. The couple divorced in November of 2023. These emotions were overwhelming, fluctuating from one moment to the next. The combination of heartbreak, betrayal, and confusion left him feeling lost and unsure of how to move forward. Eventually, the couple separated and divorced. Denzel continued with his ministerial work at the church, so also did Joshua Andrew. He continued as the organ player in the same church. This is ugly. Just ugly. Where were the church elders? What was their duty as leaders of the church? It would have made a significant difference if Denzel left the church and moved on with his life, because it won't be easy seeing your ex-wife and your friend in the same church having the best of their lives while you wallow in self-pity at the loss of a once united family. I don't think there were elders in that church at all. There is a popular proverb among the Yoruba-speaking Nigerians that says an elder cannot be in the marketplace and the head of a baby tied on his mother's back will not be positioned well. It simply means the older women will the mother's attention to it and help her adjust the babies held well. Neither Joshua nor Brianna should have been allowed to continue to be members of the church. Denzel also should have left the church when he knew the founder of his church was Joshua's adoptive parents. If he had done that, what happened on Easter Sunday wouldn't have happened at all had he left the church and walked away. You see, Crime and Prison. It is a collection of narratives that delve into the world of crime, punishment, and redemption. From tales of daring crimes to accounts of life behind bars, these stories provide a glimpse into the darker aspects of human behavior and the consequences that follow. The best way to support me is by subscribing to the channel, so if you want to see more stories like this, please hit subscribe. Now let's continue. Because Denzel patient was stretched thin as he watched his wife, children and Joshua carry on as a family and ignored him completely like he never meant anything. He felt a sense of profound loneliness and emotional isolation, as the people he might have confided in the most are the ones causing his pain. The youth pastor began to experience intense anger, both towards his wife for breaking their vows and his friend for violating their bond of trust. This anger began to consume and led to rage. On Wednesday, 4 days before Easter Sunday celebration, Denzel and Joshua had an altercation where he gave Joshua a severe beating. He was humiliated, and I think he promised a revenge for the public disgrace because there were witnesses. It was Denzel Branch, the 31-year-old youth pastor of the New Generation Church in Oak Cliff, Texas, Dallas, who preached that Easter Sunday morning. During the service, everyone was dancing and singing, but there was hatred pumping in the heart of these two enemies in a web of love and betrayal. Joshua had worn a dashing pink suit, but after the service he changed to another fine white suit to match his girlfriend's, Denzel's ex-wife's, cloth, obviously to infuriate the youth pastor. Denzel took the bait. Jealousy and rage took over his broken spirit. He walked up to Joshua and told him, "I know you all are not going to do this here." Joshua responded, "Yeah, we are going to do this here," in defiance. Denzel saw his ex-wife and Joshua all lovey-dovey and taking pictures in celebration of Easter. He was enraged and became embroiled in an argument with Joshua in the pastor's office. Things became ugly quickly. Denzel got his 5 children into the car. The senior pastor couldn't quell the fire that had began to flare up. Yes, I would say he was an incompetent leader who shouldn't have had Andrew in his church after he coveted another man's wife and put asunder what God had joined together. Brianna knew her husband loved her, and he would killed him to see her with Joshua every Sunday morning at the church. Her nonchalant attitude made him question his own worth and questioned what he did wrong or why he wasn't enough for his wife. He started comparing himself to his friend, feeling inadequate or undeserving. He constantly thought about the affair. This can lead to sleepless nights, anxiety, and a relentless need to find out the truth. Denzel was in pain, great pain, but he carried on as if he was doing all right. Did this people even know the Bible at all? I digress. Well, Denzel couldn't control himself. He dealt a blow to Joshua's finely trimmed face. Joshua pulled out his pistol in response and fired at Denzel. In a fraction of a second he knew his life would be over if he didn't make a run for it. If he took his wife from him without any form of consequence from the church or anyone, he could also take his life and nothing would come out of it. So, he turned on his heels and fled. Joshua thought for a second, I suppose, that was his opportunity to finally get him off his budding relationship with Brianna, so he pursued him and continued to shoot. Nigerians would say that a dog that would eventually get lost will not listen to the voice of the whistle of the hunter. He didn't stop shooting until Denzel, the man whose wife he took, laid lifeless in the street. Joshua had conquered his supposed enemy. Denzel had the right to be appalled at the audacious way in which they paraded themselves, knowing fully glare of his children, his parents, the church, and himself. The disrespect was just so unbearable. But he should have left the church for them long ago. Anything can happen at any time. Within a twinkling of an eye, Denzel's motionless body became the victim and Joshua Andrew became the suspect, while Brianna was just a standby. Thing is, Denzel had been a victim all along, but even though he was the youth pastor, the church did not value him enough to fight for him. He lost in life and in his demise. What does the 10 Commandments say again? Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not covet. This is a wicked world. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Joshua violated very law against Denzel's marriage. One question. Why would these people even be allowed to continue to attend this church? What kind of wisdom does the senior pastor possess to allow the evil to continue in the church? How does one carry on a full-blown affair with a man's wife, in the same church, and then take him out because he is furious you were flaunting it in his face? Joshua Andrews fled from the scene as Denzel lay on the asphalt road. He later turned himself in at the police station and confessed to shooting Pastor Denzel. He confessed he had engaged in a romantic affair with Denzel's ex-wife since May of 2023 and that another heated confrontation led to the shooting and eventual demise of the pastor. He did all that talk during interrogation without asking for a lawyer. This only meant he had resigned himself to fate and was ready to face the consequence of his action. I believe he called Brianna during the hide and seek. I believe she told him she didn't want to be involved with him anymore. Women. Joshua put coals in his chest and allowed them to bore holes in it. Had I known. I am sure that is the song Joshua is singing to himself now. He decided not to fight for himself. What's the need? Brianna is not worth fighting for. A man did and lost his life for her. Even if he wanted to fight, there was no point because many people knew his story and were witnesses to what happened that day. Maybe while he was on the run, he had a time of sober reflection, a man's life. The fact Brianna would leave him may have made him have a deep contemplation about the gravity of his actions and consequences. It would have meant he evaluated the moral and emotional weight of the decision, understanding the foolishness behind it, and facing the reality of the impact on himself. If this was what happened, I think it made him come to terms with his actions and seek forgiveness and potentially find a path toward redemption. Joshua was detained at the Dallas County Jail. He was later charged with murder. This woman is irredeemable. I pray she truly repents one day because I do not believe she had ever been born again. Neither her or Joshua. They were just churchgoers. Instead of regretting her part in what took the life of the father of her children, she took to the social media to let everyone know she wasn't cheating on Denzel, and that she was divorced at the time of the event that led to his demise by the man that put asunder her marriage. But hooray! Brianna is free as a bird out of cage to continue her adventurous life in the world of men, and more men. Would it be better if the title of this video was The Uncheckered Life of a Wayward Wife? Please leave your comment. If you liked our hard work, then like and share this video, please, so that others can also know about this story and now be alert from now onwards about crime and prison stories. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then do it quickly. Click on the notification bell icon. See you again in the next video with the true story. Thank you for supporting me with a subscription.